Some fathers celebrate milestones with expensive dinners, heartfelt speeches, or family photographs. I chose something much simpler. I wanted one peaceful evening where the two families could sit together before my daughter's wedding and leave as one family. Looking back now, I almost laugh at how innocent that wish was. If someone had told me that by the end of that dinner I would discover a betrayal carefully hidden behind polite smiles and foreign words, I would have called them crazy. My name is Daniel Carter, and I have spent nearly 30 years building houses across Virginia. Not office buildings, not luxury hotels. Homes. Places where children grow up, birthdays are celebrated, and memories stay alive long after the walls begin to age. Every nail I hammered reminded me of something my own father used to say. A house isn't measured by its size. It's measured by the people willing to protect it. At the time, I thought he was only talking about buildings. I would later realize he was talking about family. My daughter, Emily, was getting married in less than a month. She was my only child. After losing her mother to cancer nearly 12 years earlier, she had become my entire world. Every overtime shift, every business decision, every sacrifice, it had all been for her. She never asked for expensive things. She never complained. She simply wanted me beside her. When she introduced me to her fiancé, Adrien Laurent, he appeared to be everything a father could hope for. Educated, confident, well-mannered, successful. He spoke with the quiet confidence of someone raised in privilege. Yet, he always treated Emily kindly whenever I was around. Or at least, that's what I believed. When Adrien suggested that both families should meet over dinner before the wedding, I immediately agreed. I wanted his parents to feel welcome. They had flown from France to spend several weeks in America preparing for the ceremony. I spent almost 3 weeks searching for the perfect restaurant. Not because I cared about appearances, because Emily cared. She wanted everyone to get along. She kept saying, "Dad, once we're married, we'll all be one family." Those words echoed in my mind as I drove toward the restaurant that evening. The place overlooked miles of green countryside. Large windows surrounded the dining room. The sunset painted the hills orange. Everything looked peaceful, almost too peaceful. Emily waved excitedly the moment she saw me. "Dad!" She hugged me tightly. "You look nervous," she laughed. "I've survived construction inspectors for 30 years, I smiled. "I'm not scared of dinner." She laughed again. That laugh alone made every dollar I'd ever spent feel worthwhile. Then Adrien stood and shook my hand. "Mr. Carter, thank you for arranging tonight." "My pleasure." A few moments later, his parents arrived. Jean Laurent walked with perfect posture, elegant suit, silver hair, expensive watch. The type of man who never looked rushed. His wife Isabel carried herself with the same polished confidence. Everything about them suggested old European wealth. Their smiles were polite, measured, almost rehearsed. Dinner began pleasantly enough. The waiter handed everyone menus. We talked about travel, wedding flowers, Virginia weather, French culture, nothing unusual. Then the wine arrived. Jean examined the bottle as though he were judging an art competition. He slowly rotated the label before looking toward me. "You selected this?" "Yes. It's from a local vineyard." He gave a tiny smile. "In France, we would never pair this with duck." The table became awkwardly quiet. I simply smiled. "I figured it would be nice to support local businesses." "How practical," Isabel replied. She emphasized the final word just enough for me to notice. Emily didn't. She was busy talking with Adrien. Good. I wanted her happy. If swallowing my pride bought her one peaceful evening, it was worth it. Or so I thought. A few minutes later, Jean leaned toward his wife and quietly spoke in French. Both of them smiled. They believed no one at the table understood a single word. They were wrong, because years before I ever built houses in Virginia, I had spent 4 years working construction sites across southern France, and I understood every single sentence. Jean leaned slightly toward his wife, keeping his voice low enough that anyone unfamiliar with French would simply hear a soft murmur. Then he smiled. Isabel answered without hesitation. Both of them believed they were speaking in complete privacy. I lowered my eyes toward my plate and calmly cut another piece of steak. Inside, I was listening to every word. "She seems sweet," Jean said in French, glancing toward Emily. "Poor girl has no idea what kind of life she's marrying into." Isabel gave a quiet laugh. "She'll learn soon enough. At least her father seems easy to manipulate." My knife stopped for only a fraction of a second. Not enough for anyone to notice. Years earlier, when I worked on construction projects outside Lyon, I had learned French the hard way. No classrooms, no textbooks, just long workdays beside crews who barely spoke English. After 4 years, the language had become second nature. I never imagined that one day it would help me protect my daughter. The conversation continued. "Look at him," Jean whispered. "He's trying so hard to impress us." Isabel smiled politely in my direction before replying, "Men like him always believe money can buy class." I kept my expression relaxed. Emily was laughing with Adrian. She had no idea what was being said just a few feet away. For her sake, I forced myself to remain calm. The waiter arrived with the main course, giving me a brief moment to collect my thoughts. As everyone thanked him, the conversation shifted back to English. Jean complimented the restaurant. Isabel admired the scenery. Adrian asked me about my latest construction project. If someone had walked past our table, they would have thought we were one happy family. Only I knew the truth. A few minutes later, Isabel noticed a framed photograph hanging on the restaurant wall. It featured one of the custom oak libraries that had won a local craftsmanship award several years earlier. My library. I had built it by hand for Emily when she was 12 years old. Every shelf, every joint, every carved detail. It had taken nearly 4 months to complete. Emily used to spend hours sitting beside it, reading books, while I worked late into the night, sanding each piece until it was perfect. Without realizing it belonged to me, Isabel looked at the picture and quietly said in French, "Americans call this craftsmanship." Jean barely looked at it. "It's rustic, nothing more." Then Isabel added something that tightened every muscle in my body. People with no real taste always think hard work is the same as talent. For the first time that evening, I slowly placed my fork on the table. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to remind myself to breathe. I wanted to answer. I wanted to look directly into their eyes and respond in flawless French. But I didn't, not yet, because exposing them now would accomplish nothing. Emily would be confused. Adrian would deny everything. His parents would pretend they had been misunderstood. No. If there was something larger happening, I needed to understand it first. So I smiled. I even complimented the dessert. And I kept listening. About 20 minutes later, another conversation caught my attention. This time, it wasn't about me. It was about paperwork. Jean leaned toward Adrian and quietly asked, "Have the documents been prepared?" Adrian nodded. "Almost. The lawyer says everything should be ready before the wedding." Jean looked satisfied. "Good. Once everything is signed, there won't be any problems." My heartbeat slowed. Documents. Signed. What documents? Emily continued chatting with the waitress, completely unaware. Then I heard the sentence that changed everything. Adrian smiled slightly before saying, "Her father will sign anything if he believes it's helping Emily." The three of them exchanged knowing smiles. I stared silently into my coffee. The room suddenly felt colder. I wasn't angry anymore. I was alert. Very alert. Because whatever they were planning, it involved me, and it involved paperwork. When dinner finally ended, I paid the bill before anyone else could reach for it. Jean thanked me warmly. Isabel complimented my generosity. Adrian shook my hand. Emily hugged me one more time. She whispered, "Thank you, Dad. Tonight meant everything to me." I hugged her back a little tighter than usual. "You deserve every happiness in the world." As I watched her leave with Adrian, one thought echoed through my mind. If those people are hiding something, I'll uncover every single piece of it before they ever get the chance to hurt my daughter. That same night, sitting alone inside my old pickup truck, I made one phone call to a man I hadn't spoken to in almost 15 years. He owed me a favor. And by sunrise, the investigation into Adrian's family would officially begin. The evening of the rehearsal dinner had finally arrived. The hall glowed beneath warm lights as friends and family gathered together, laughing, talking, and celebrating what they believed would be the beginning of a beautiful future. Emily stood near the entrance, wearing a simple white dress. She looked happier than I had seen her in months. Across the room, Adrian greeted guests with his usual confident smile, while his parents moved from table to table, charming everyone they met. They believed everything was going exactly according to plan. A thick folder rested neatly in the center of the main table. Jean smiled as he gently pushed it toward me. "Mark, if you're ready, all that's left are a few signatures." I smiled politely. "I am ready. But before anyone signs anything, I have a small surprise." The room fell silent. My attorney, Roger Callahan, slowly stood from his chair and walked to the front of the room carrying another folder. The confident smiles on Jean and Beatrice's faces slowly disappeared. Roger cleared his throat. "Before these documents are signed, everyone deserves to understand exactly what they contain." A projector illuminated the wall. The first document appeared on the screen. Outstanding business debts. The next slide revealed tax notices. Then came court filings from France. Finally, the offshore trust agreement appeared for everyone to see. Whispers spread across the room. Adrian's face lost all color. Jean stood abruptly. "This is nonsense. These documents mean nothing." Roger calmly opened another file. "These are certified business records." Another document appeared. "These are official court filings." Then another. "And these papers explain how Mr. Carter's commercial property would become collateral for foreign debt." No one spoke. Emily looked from the screen to Adrian, completely stunned. "Adrian, what is all this?" He reached for her hand. "Emily, please, I can explain everything." She slowly pulled her hand away. "Then why didn't you tell me before?" Her voice trembled. The silence that followed was heavier than anything I had ever experienced. I slowly stood. This time, I looked directly at Jean. Instead of speaking English, I spoke fluent French. "You believed I couldn't understand a single word you said." The room froze. Jean's eyes widened. Beatrice stared at me without saying a word. I continued in French. "That night at the restaurant, you insulted my daughter. You mocked the work of my own hands. And worst of all, you believed I loved my daughter so much that I would blindly sign anything placed in front of me." I paused for a moment before switching back to English. "There is one thing you were right about. I would do anything to protect my daughter. But I will never sacrifice her future to rescue someone else's lies. Emily's eyes filled with tears. She turned toward Adrian. I only need one answer. Did you truly love me? Or did you love what my father owns? Adrian opened his mouth. No words came out. His silence answered everything. Slowly, Emily removed her engagement ring. She placed it gently into Adrian's hand. It's over. No one moved. No one spoke. Jean reached toward the documents, but Roger calmly stepped forward. It won't make any difference. Copies have already been delivered to the proper authorities. Jean looked around the room. For the first time since arriving in America, he had nothing to say. Without another word, he and Beatrice walked toward the exit. Adrian stood alone, hoping Emily would look back one last time. She never did. The celebration had ended, but the truth had finally been set free. Later that night, after every guest had gone home, Emily quietly walked onto the porch where I was sitting alone. She wrapped her arms around me. I'm sorry, Dad. You were trying to protect me all along. I hugged her tightly. You never have to apologize for trusting someone you loved. A father's job isn't just to build a home. It's to protect the people who live inside it. Months passed. Life slowly returned to normal. Emily found the strength to begin again. As for me, I went back to building houses. One afternoon, I finished another handcrafted oak bookshelf. Before delivering it to Emily's new home, I attached a small brass plaque to the bottom shelf. It read, "The strongest foundations are built with honesty, never with deception." Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying the people who betrayed you. Sometimes it's simply about protecting the people you love, before it's too late. The end. The Verdress